Coming up as First at 4 continues, family and friends gather to remember John Y. Brown Jr. as the former governor lies in state at the Capitol. And the eruption of mass protests across China have been smothered by a vast show of force by Chinese security officials patrolling the streets.
And big-time thunderstorms are ongoing to our south and west, and some rain and storms could be in our future as well. Very latest ahead as First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
A former Kentucky governor is now lying in state at the Capitol in Frankfort. John Y. Brown Jr. died last week at the age of 88. He was governor of Kentucky from 1979 till 1983. The visitation began at 10 this morning and runs through 7 this evening. People say Brown's legacy is running the state as a business, owning several sports teams, and how he took Kentucky Fried Chicken to new heights from a simple purchase with other investors. Senator Reggie Thomas says Brown had a major influence on him as a young adult.
And pulled me aside and he says, he called me Reggie. He said, you know, Reggie Thomas, we need young men like you involved in politics. I want to encourage you to stay the course and continue to get involved, because we need to hear voices like yours. And I never will forget that.
A private funeral will be held tomorrow at the state capitol. We'll have more from Frankfort coming up tonight at 6. 2 Clark County women are in custody and charged with the death of a 14-month-old. Monica and Erica Goodwin are facing manslaughter charges after the child drowned. Court documents claim that Monica and Erica Goodwin were at home with Monica's 14-month-old child on November 16th. The two allegedly went upstairs to one of the bedrooms in the house and left the child alone downstairs. Deputies say the child was alone long enough to climb into a hot tub that was inside the home and drown. A criminal complaint filed in Clark County says officials saw drug paraphernalia upstairs in the bedroom. Each is facing 1 count of manslaughter, and they are being held in the Clark County Detention Center on a $50,000 bond.
Clouds continue to move back into the region as we watch our next weather system get its act together to our south and west, and I'd say it's gotten plenty of its act together as we head down into the deep south. Look outside right now, plenty of sunshine. Not so much anymore, though, with those clouds working on in. Low 60s, breezy south winds, bringing up more warm and more moist air. You see the dew point in London's at 42, whereas in Hazard and Pikeville, it's at 32. So, or at Hazard, I should say. Pikeville's also, or yes, Hazard and Pikeville both at 32, and the clouds also in downtown Whitesburg. You see the first of those showers trying to move in to the Cumberland Valley. Not a ton associated with that, but we'll continue to watch for some light rain places like Somerset, Monticello, Whitley City, into Stearns, Pine Knot over there as well. The big time action continues to our south and west, where a tornado outbreak is getting underway across portions of Mississippi. Tornado watch in effect, level 4, moderate risk of severe weather down that way. For us, that becomes a level 1 marginal risk, and I think the risk is rather low because we're going to be talking about this after dark. Either way, temperatures remain mild, low to mid 60s as we head through tonight. Details on when those showers start to move in earnest in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. In China, the government is moving in swiftly to put down mass protests over its strict zero COVID policy. Security officials are patrolling streets and checking cell phones to see if people had installed so-called virtual private networks, or VPNs, to evade censorship. CNN's Chris Newen has the latest from Washington.
For the first time in decades, thousands of people have defied Chinese authorities, protesting at universities and on the streets of major cities, demanding freedom from the government's COVID lockdowns, as well as strict censorship. A rare show of dissent against the Communist Party's tightening grip over all aspects of life. Protesters in Hong Kong expressing their support for those on the mainland.
I think everyone who has a sane mind should say something or do something to stop this unreasonable social measure.
CNN has verified at least 20 protests have erupted in recent days across 15 cities on the mainland, including in Beijing and Shanghai. Demonstrators holding up sheets of white paper, symbolizing the critical social media posts and news articles that have been wiped from the internet. China's vast security apparatus moving quickly to prevent additional protests with heavy police surveillance. The Chinese economy continuing to take a hit.
They're still dealing with COVID the way we were dealing with it in 2020 in the spring, which is your choice is to shut down. And that is very disruptive to the supply chain, the internal economy.
The White House treading carefully, even as it tries to mend relations with Beijing.
People should be allowed the right to assemble and to peacefully protest policies or laws or dictates that they take issue with.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
A truckers union in South Korea held 16 rallies nationwide on Tuesday, including a head-shaving protest at a transport hub where hundreds of truck drivers pledged to continue defying the government's start work order and to demand a minimum pay system. South Korea ordered about 2,500 striking truckers in the cement industry to return to work, an order that the Cargo Truckers Solidarity Union called undemocratic and violent, and evidence that the government was unwilling to engage in dialogue. The head of the Seoul Metropolitan Branch says after he had his head shaved, about 2,000 truckers had joined the union since the last strike held in June, struggling with their livelihood about fuel costs. The government is unwilling to expand a minimum pay system beyond a further 3 years. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Romania for the NATO foreign ministers meeting to discuss implementing NATO's new strategic concept. He took a tour of the U.S.-Romania Strategic Partnership exhibit and celebrated key moments in the two countries' partnership since 1997. But another topic was also discussed during the meeting: Russia's war against Ukraine.
And we stand united in the face of President Putin's brutal war against Ukraine. Since February, working hand in hand with dozens of allies and partners around the world, we have acted with speed, with coordination, with determination to support Ukraine in the face of this Russian aggression. We serve security assistance to Ukraine. This helped tilt the battlefield in Ukraine's direction.
Secretary Blinken also met separately with Romania's president as well as Romania's foreign minister and the NATO Secretary General. A new study found gun death rates increased for most demographic groups in recent years, especially during the pandemic, with a record number of deaths last year. The study looked at gun deaths during the past 3 decades, which amounted to more than 1 million deaths. Researchers saw a dramatic, unprecedented increase from 2019 to 2021, when gun deaths went up more than 25%. Among the findings, nearly 86% of all firearm deaths since 1990 have been among men. Last year, the firearm homicide rate among young black men was nearly 10 times higher than the overall firearm death rate in the U.S. The gun homicide rate was nearly 4 times higher among young Hispanic men compared with white men. The rate among young black men was a staggering 22 times higher than among white men. Coming up as First at 4 continues, one luxury fashion house is filing a lawsuit against the production company that aired its Spring 2023 ad campaign.
Plus, here come the showers, the latest on when rain chances return to the mountains. Straight ahead.